Everyone might have used a wooden donkey, but you probably haven't seen this large wooden horse, have you? This is an incident that caused Pingyu County to cancel the designation as civilized. Various honorary titles such as advanced, model, and others. The massive serial murder case with rewards and qualifications. It was also a case that involved the relevant departments at that time. A severe criminal case that resulted in successive dismissals. He brutally killed over 20 people within 2 years. Most of them haven't. The reason I haven't mentioned an exact number. That's because the specific number of victims in this case. It is still a mystery to this day. Although the official conclusion is that there are 17 people. However, it has faced a lot of skepticism. Some say it's 25 people. Moreover, these numbers are reported by well-known media outlets. However, the motive behind this criminal's actions is even more bizarre. He was not motivated by money. Is not a surname. Moreover, there was no enmity between him and the victims, neither in the past nor today. So what exactly was his purpose in doing this? So why did those leaders start to gather? Today we recount. Don't forget to like and follow. Tag your most twisted friend to watch together. September 17, 2001. Zumadian City, Hunan Province. Pingyu County is a small town bordering Linquan in Anhui. September marks the transition from late summer to early autumn. People are busy celebrating the harvest joy. However, on this night, 17-year-old student Wang Ping, studying at the second high school of the county. However, he hasn't returned home yet, because the next day was the weekend. So initially, his father was working in the field. When he returned home, he didn't see Wang Ping. He assumed his son was playing at a classmate's house. So he didn't pay much attention. After collecting water and filling it, he went back to work in the field. By the time he finished, it was almost 11 p.m. But when old Wang opened the door, however, he still couldn't find any trace of Wang Ping. This was strange. His son had never done this before. Staying out so late without coming home. Wang Ping had grown up here. He was quite introverted. He doesn't really like to talk much. At this point, it was already deep into the night. Where could he have gone? However, old Wang might be thinking that Wang Ping is already a 17-year-old young man. He's not a little girl after all. How could anything go wrong? So she wasn't too anxious to look for him. But she never expected that. The next day, when she woke up, Wang Ping still hadn't come back. Old Wang began to feel that something was off. So he immediately thought of calling Wang Ping's homeroom teacher to ask about the situation. However, the teacher said that Wang Ping had complained about feeling unwell yesterday at school. He went home. Old Wang was completely panicked upon hearing this. Then, he also looked for several of his son's good friends. But none of them had seen Wang Ping yesterday. Old Wang searched all day long. At this point, he began to have an ominous feeling. Because Wang Ping had been missing for a day and a night. After realizing the seriousness of the situation, old Wang immediately called back his wife who was at her family's home. He also rallied more than 30 relatives and friends. They began searching everywhere in the county town. But for the entire day, relatives and friends visited all the places Wang Ping might have gone. They went through all of them. However, there was still no trace of him. In the end, old Wang had no choice but to go to the police station to report it. After receiving the report, the police found it rather strange. If it were a young child missing, it could be understandable. But for a 17-year-old student like this, where could he possibly go? Could it be that he's hiding away due to the recent pressure of studies? Where could he be hiding? The police stated they would conduct an investigation. However, they also needed the family to continue searching. Little did they know, this missing persons case was just the beginning. Immediately following, on October 15th, at the county's second high school, sophomore class 11 student Zhang Liang went missing. On January 4, 2002, the second high school of the county has another 18-year-old student. Lu Ming went missing. On March 5, another incident occurred at Pingyu County High School. An 18-year-old student named Zhang Luan went missing. Wait a moment. Until May of 2003, in the small Pingyu County, 15 people mysteriously vanished within 2 years. Most of them were students. During this time, the parents of the missing persons and the Pingyu County Police conducted extensive searches and investigations. In the internet cafes that students like to visit, they searched game halls and video rental shops over and over again. But they all seemed to have vanished without a trace. Disappeared completely. For a time, rumors spread rapidly throughout Pingyu County. Rumors claimed that those who went missing had all been harmed by a demon that specifically feasted on entrails. Once these young people were consumed, it would be the older people's turn next. This situation left the public in a state of fear and anxiety. Students who used to go to school without parental pickup or drop-off. Now, at the times of school arrival and dismissal, the number of parents on the road is even greater than that of the students. However, what happened next was even more unbelievable. It also intensified this series of missing person cases. On the morning of June 28, 2003, the owner of a telephone supermarket in Pingyu County, Zhao Huawei, as usual, opened the roller shutter to do business. However, as soon as he arrived at the store today, he discovered, at the entrance of the store, there was a bulging black plastic bag placed there. It looked like the thick kind of bag used for selling meat. Out of curiosity, old Zhao opened the bag to take a look. Inside was a bloody severed hand. Not only that, there was also a threatening letter inside. It stated that Boss Zhao should prepare 50,000 yuan. Otherwise, next time what gets sent will not be this. This genuinely frightened old Zhao. After going back to change his pants, he called the police. 151,515. After receiving the call, the police immediately rushed to the scene. Upon investigation, it was clear that this criminal had planned this in advance. First, it was the surveillance cameras of the phone store. It was artificially destroyed. Secondly, through handwriting analysis, the perpetrator seemingly imitated a child's handwriting, rather than writing. It's more accurate to say it was drawn carefully, line by line, with a ruler. This threatening letter left no useful clues at the scene. However, what the police never expected was, at this moment, the devil is right there among the crowd watching. Secretly noted how the police conducted the investigation. After learning that the officers found no flaws, he smugly disappeared into the crowd. Boss Zhao had been doing business in the county for many years. According to him, his business philosophy was based on the notion that harmony brings prosperity. He had never had conflicts with anyone. He had many friends, but not a single enemy. So this is quite strange. Since he had no grudges against anyone, how could he be threatened? Additionally, whose severed right hand is this? According to forensic analysis, this hand was severed after the victim's death. Realizing that the case is not that simple, Ping and the police immediately formed a special task force. As for the current situation, the perpetrator seems to have been motivated by money. There should be further actions to follow. Therefore, the police decided to split into two teams. On one hand, they would install surveillance equipment at the phone supermarket, and they arranged for plainclothes officers to patrol nearby. On the other hand, they would focus all efforts on analyzing and investigating the severed hand. However, just 2 days later, that night, Boss Zhao had just returned home, when he unexpectedly found that familiar plastic bag again. This time, the cunning perpetrator did not leave it at the supermarket entrance. This time, the bag contained a left hand. After testing, it was found to belong to the same person as the right hand from 2 days ago. Furthermore, the threatening letter inside this bag explicitly demanded that Boss Zhao come at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Deliver 50,000 yuan to the second bridge pile at Yudan Bridge, next to the second bridge pile. Otherwise, the next one to lose their head will be Boss Zhao himself. Therefore, the task force immediately made a plan. Since the location is known, the next step is to wait for the rabbit by the tree stump. However, strangely, the police deployed a large number of officers near the Yudan Bridge. They hid in the surroundings and waited for a full 3 days. However, besides the nearby villagers and playing children, who occasionally passed by, no suspicious individuals were found. No one went over to collect the money either. The task force analyzed that either the criminals have discovered the hidden police, or this criminal is extremely cunning. This time was just a probe. However, the more tricky issue now is that the police currently know nothing about this criminal. They don't even know how many of them there are. Not only that, it is even more headache-inducing that, for a long time after this, the assailant was surprisingly silent. They've vanished without a trace. Suddenly, another team investigated the identity of Duan Shou. After continuous checks and visits, finally clarified the identity of the victim. The victim was named Song Ming. He was a student at the 6th middle school. A few days ago, he went to the arcade with his classmate Li Jian. Subsequently, the two of them went missing together. At that time, their parents even reported it to the police. However, because the arcade was very noisy with people coming and going, and there were no surveillance cameras back then, so, no one noticed when these two arrived, or when they left. As a result, this missing person case ended up forgotten. After the special investigative team learned of this situation, they immediately decided, for all the game halls in Pingyu County, initiate the strictest investigations in history. Because back then, within the arcade, not only could you play arcade games, but there were also many gambling activities, making it a mix of good and bad characters. This time, the investigation must cover not only the day of the incident, who has been to the game hall. At the same time, illegal activities in these places must also be eradicated. But to be honest, because the criminal investigation techniques at that time were not very advanced, technology was also not very advanced. A large-scale investigation like this is not only labor-intensive but also resource-draining. The results were not as expected. There will always be some that slip through the cracks. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Although the police had demolished several criminal sites, however, the original investigation was about the serial disappearance cases. Yet, there were no clues at all. However, what surprised everyone was, then, this case took an unexpected turn. The task force quickly identified the suspect. So, what's going on here? It turned out that on November 1st of that year, the Pingyu County Public Security Bureau received a report. The person who reported the case is named Delay. At the time, he came to the police station accompanied by his father. He tremblingly told the police. He told the police officer, trembling, "I just escaped from the hands of a twisted demon yesterday. I narrowly survived." And this person also told me that he had already killed over 20 people. The officers who received me were shocked to hear this. They quickly thought of the recent missing persons cases. So they immediately contacted the special investigation team. They invited the father and son, Delay, to the conference room. Delay recalled. That morning, he was browsing the internet at a new city internet cafe on the construction road. Then, a man in his 20s appeared, sat down to my left. During the time he was playing games, he asked me how to type certain characters. He also asked me, "How do you play this game?" As we chatted back and forth, we became familiar with each other. During this time, that man also treated me to a drink. This further lowered my guard. Around noon, at about 11 o'clock, we both logged off and exited the internet cafe. This man then said to me, "Come with me to my home to get some money. I'll treat you to lunch first. Then in the afternoon, please continue to go online. I heard that you can go online for free." The playful him didn't hesitate. He eagerly agreed without much thought. Little did he know, the little ship of his life was slowly sailing towards its end. After the two had dinner, the devil pointed to an object in the room, saying, "This is an intelligent Trojan that tests a person's reaction speed. It's very fun. Until now, no one has been able to clear it. You just have to lie back to start the game." So, he began to carefully examine this strange object. It looked like a wider bench. There was nothing particularly special about it. But out of curiosity, he actually took the initiative to lie down on it. Suddenly, there was a click. His neck was tightly locked by 2 rods. He couldn't move at all. Realizing he might have been fooled, he started to struggle desperately. But it was already too late by then. The assailant quickly picked up a white cloth. He choked him tightly around the neck. Just as Delay was about to lose his life from the choking, this demon loosened the white cloth again. To prevent Delay from shouting, he also used the white cloth to gag his mouth. He repeatedly stabbed Delay's belly with a syringe. The pervert, seeing Delay in agony, strangely burst into a bizarre laugh. He looked like a devil from hell. Over the next 4 days, Delay endured countless times of this repetitive torment. Fortunately, Delay did not give up on escaping. During this period, he desperately pleaded for mercy from the thug. Until the fourth day, he was so tortured that he was dazed. Delay said, "I beg you, let me go. When you get old, I will take care of you." Unexpectedly, these words finally moved the thug. The corner of this demon's eyes actually glistened with tears. After a brief hesitation, he let Delay go. Not only did he personally see Delay onto the bus, he also bought him instant noodles and a drink. This is what saved Delay's life. Having survived the ordeal, Delay, accompanied by his father, finally gathered the courage to report to the police. Subsequently, the Pingyu County Police, led by Delay, quickly arrived at the criminal's residence. However, when the criminal saw the police, he was not surprised at all. Instead, he snorted coldly, and said he didn't expect you to arrive so quickly. After arriving at the station, this demon did not hide his crimes at all. He readily confessed his crimes to the officers. It turned out this person was named Huang Yong. He is 29 years old this year. He is a villager from Yuangmiao Township in Pingyu County. His biggest hobby since childhood has been watching movies. His most obsessed character is the assassin. Among them, he watched an American movie at a temple fair. He's called a free man. This had the deepest impact on him, making him feel that being a killer was a really cool thing. He really wanted to experience what it felt like to be a killer. This gradually became his ideal. From then on, a seed of evil was planted in his heart. Not only that, he also set many rules for himself. The first rule was to not kill women. That wouldn't show heroism. The second was to have a unique method of killing. Common killing methods were too ordinary. They didn't reflect his uniqueness. So he liked to tinker around when he had nothing to do. One day he finally discovered the pasta maker at home. A person lying on it was just perfect. With just a slight modification, it could be turned into a killing tool. Later, after some adjustments, he replaced the short board with a long one, and added 2 spring-loaded iron rods at the top. Huang Yong even gave this object a name. It's called the Intelligent Trojan Horse. After obtaining the tools for his crimes, he began to look for targets. Thus, from September 2001 to November 2003, Huang Yong successively targeted internet cafes, game halls, and other venues. He used the pretense of funding education, outings and job introductions as bait, to lure victims to his home. After killing the victims, he also dismembered them. They were all buried in his own backyard. In total, he murdered over 20 people. The police later dug up dozens of plastic bags containing body parts in Huang Yong's backyard. They unearthed dozens of plastic bags containing dismembered body parts. When the police asked him why he threatened Boss Zhao, Huang Yong stated that over a decade ago, he worked under Boss Zhao, and was unjustly denied his wages, so he just wanted to scare him. He never intended to take his money at all. Therefore, he didn't go to collect it later. This shows that Huang Yong is also a person who holds grudges. On December 9th, the Intermediate People's Court of Zumadian City held a public trial. Huang Yong was sentenced to death. His political rights were revoked for life. Soon, on December 26th, Huang Yong was quickly executed, in less than a month, although this case was solved. However, in that year, in Pingyu County, Director Gong, Director Jiao, Director Wen, and the head of the first and second senior high schools, along with 5 other leaders, were all dismissed afterwards. Furthermore, Pingyu County was stripped of various honorary titles such as civilized, advanced, and model, and the eligibility for rewards within a year. As for the reasons, Tai Lu cannot say here. Those interested can look it up themselves. Thus, this case has revealed the truth. Next, I would like to continue thanking those fans who have given Tai Lu support. Since you have shown your appreciation, Tai Lu's videos are rarely taken down now. Thank you for the support from these fans. Although they are only small amounts, the gesture is sincere and meaningful. After all, even beggars know to say thank you. If Iron Donkey doesn't express gratitude, it would seem very inconsiderate. However, some fans have reported that reading names here feels a bit like calling out criminal suspects. It feels strange. So this time, Iron Donkey has decided to publish the list of thanks. No more reading names. Your appreciation is Iron Donkey's biggest motivation to update.